Disney World needs to fix Space Mountain, and this is how.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we proudly present Space Mountain.
What's up guys, it's Jake here, and today I'll be talking about how Walt Disney World can fix Space Mountain. And so it starts way back in early November. I was at the second Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party, and I went on the People Mover, right? And I was riding the People Mover. You go through Space Mountain, and it has that cool like little Christmas makeover because it's a Christmas party, and there's a bunch of cool lighting effects inside, and I think you get what I mean. So I'm looking at Space Mountain, and I say, let's go on Space Mountain. Seems cool, and that's exactly what I did. Got a lightning lane, head to Space Mountain, we get on. I get on the ride, and I get in the ride vehicle. The ride vehicle gets about 10 feet out of the station, and then stops. I sit there, and I'm thinking, okay, we're just waiting for the next car to like hit the brake run, come back into the station so we can go, right? We're sitting there, and eventually the music turns off, and you just see kind of down the little corridor toward where the lift hill was, work lights come on. And I'm like, okay, that's not good. And guests in the ride vehicles in front of me were very irate, like saying stuff that would never repeat. But don't do that if you get stuck on a Disney ride. And I got stuck on Space Mountain, and I had to wait there for about a half hour and then get taken off the ride, walk back to the station, and leave the ride. And we got a free lightning lane, so whatever. But Disney could fix this, and yes, I know people get stuck on Disney rides all the time. Like, it happens a lot. But the thing is, it happens with Space Mountain so frequently. I was there in the Disney parks every day for a straight week, and almost every time I was in Magic Kingdom at some point throughout the day, either if it was for a half hour, 20 minutes, or 2 hours, or the rest of the day, it said Space Mountain was closed. And that I saw that probably pop up about 4 times, because it depended on what days I was in Magic Kingdom. And who knows how many times it happened when I wasn't there, and who knows how many times it happens now. And I feel like there's so many things they could do to fix Space Mountain. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining how they could. So Space Mountain obviously opened back in 1975, around the time, or a couple of years after Walt Disney World opened actually. And it's an old ride, I will say that. It's an old ride. And it's a classic, you know. It's one of the most iconic structures in any Disney theme park, and even got it rebuilt in parks all over the world. And with the ride being super old, unlike parks like Disneyland or the parks out on the other side of the world where they're actually building a whole new Space Mountain or renovating it, we have the same old Space Mountain that we've had since 1975. And I think we need to shut it down for like a year or two and renovate it. And I'm not talking about what they're doing on the other side of the globe, making a whole new Space Mountain. I just mean shutting it down for maybe a year and a half, retracking it, and just putting some new effects on it, revamping it, and making it look better than the rides ever looked before. Because remember back earlier in the video when I said I got stuck on Space Mountain for a half hour because I was stuck in the station? And never mind that, imagine how long the people inside the actual ride that were stuck on the brake run or the lift hill were stuck for. That probably had to be like an hour, hour and a half. Because I remember when I was walking out, Disney security was walking in to help get people off. Because we were one of the first people off because we were in the station, thankfully. And remember, what also stinks about this whole thing is that all these people paid hundreds of dollars to go to Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, a hard ticket event that you get to stay after hours for, and you only have a limited amount of time that you can be there for. So these people that had to wait twice as long as me to get off the ride got so much wasted time that they could have been spending getting hot chocolate and stuff, riding the special rides, and doing special stuff at the Christmas party. Because, you know, people probably had schedules. Like, they're probably like, at this time we're going to go see the parade, this time we're going to go see the fireworks. And you have to spend all this time stuck on Space Mountain because it's an old ride that cannot operate properly a lot of the time. And again, Space Mountain, I'm not saying at all it's a bad ride. I love Space Mountain. I'll always go on it. It's just there's things Disney can improve on. There's always stuff you can improve on, almost for whatever you do. So I'm just pointing out how you can improve Space Mountain, how it could be a lot better. I was in the station, so I heard what was going on, and I know exactly why the ride couldn't go. So it was the ride vehicle I was in, the ride vehicle in front of me was going to be the next vehicle to hit the lift hill. And there was a person, the ride operator, and she had her whole like little board in front of her. I don't know what it's called, but had all the buttons that like make the ride go, stop, and like undo the restraints and stuff. And it just wasn't working. The ride would not go, which meant our ride vehicles were stuck where they were, and the ride vehicles behind me were stuck in the station. So you couldn't load or unload the ride, which doesn't make it possible to run, obviously. And because the ride is so old that the system keeps breaking down frequently, they need to take out the system, take out the track, put in a whole new system, and make it more like a modern day roller coaster. Because this is basically the same track and structure that's been there since 1975. And if you go on the People Mover and you're lucky enough to ride through while the ride's broken down, all the lights are on inside Space Mountain, you can see the actual structure the ride is on. You can tell it's an old structure, and it does not look like how they would build a ride today. And it's kind of a rough ride. The ride vehicles are really weird. You could like do so much with this. You could revamp it, put all like the cool screens and stuff inside, and it doesn't have to be screens. You can redo the physical sets. You can redo the lift hill. You can even make it so maybe in May you can do the Star Wars overlay. There's so much stuff you can do with it. You can redo the speakers to get music and stuff. There's so much you can do with it. And people would be saying, no, Space Mountain is a very high rated attraction that people always have to go on when they're at Disney. It's a very big ride that people always want to go on. It's a GP magnet basically. And I have a disagreement. Back in April of 2023, after years of waiting, we got Tron Light Cycle Run. So that's also a very high rated coaster, or at least depends on what you think about it. But to the general public, people think it's a very good attraction. I mean, it is a good attraction. Just some people are a little skeptical about it and nitpick. But anyways, that's right next to Space Mountain. If you can just fix the virtual queue and stuff, get all the park capacity that would be going to Space Mountain on the Tron, people wouldn't have to worry about Space Mountain. You have Tron open now, so you have a whole nother ride to take up all the guests that are going to Space Mountain. So if you shut it down for a year and refurbish it, you wouldn't have a problem. You just have Tron there. And just think about it. Once you redo Space Mountain and you can advertise it as like the refurbished Space Mountain or whatever you want to do with it, because you're Disney, you can market basically anything you want. You'll have two amazing coasters right next to each other in the same land, and you won't even be missing that much, as all the guests will be over at Tron while Space Mountain's closed. Problem solved. Disney, hire me, I'll get my paycheck in the mail. But yeah, hope you all enjoy this video. If you agree with me, I'd love to hear it down in the comments below. Likes always appreciated, and if you want to subscribe if you like content on this channel, I'd appreciate that too. So yeah, with that, hope you all have an amazing day. Have a great big deal tomorrow. See y'all next time. God bless.